All right, y'all. It's the 8 o'clock hour. You know what that is. It's time for the Allstate Sugar Bowl interview of the week. My boy John Sudsbury at the Allstate Sugar Bowl sets this up for us every week. We're able to talk to one of the all-time greats that had the opportunity to play in the Allstate Sugar Bowl. Tonight, we're going to talk to a guy that played his college football at Nebraska. He was drafted by the Green Bay Packers. He also played in the Canadian Football League. He's one of the longest tenured D1 coordinators in college football history. But despite all those accolades locally, and to most of us here in South Louisiana, he is most affectionately known as Joe Burrow's dad. That's right, Jimmy Burrow. Jimmy, thanks so much for joining us on the program tonight. We're really excited to have you here and just talk a little football with you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so look, you've played and coached at all levels, but like for most people, it all kind of starts in high school. And since this is a high school football show, why don't you let our fans know what's your favorite memory of high school football, whether it be as a player, whether it be as a coach, or just a dad sitting in the stands?
I'll start with Joe because he was the latest. His senior year, undefeated, set the record for the most points at any level in high school football in Ohio, and we lost a tough game to Toledo Central Catholic. I think Joe threw 6 touchdowns, but that was a bittersweet memory. But getting to the state championship at Ohio State Stadium was special. I had 2 older boys that I was able to be a part of the coaching staff at Ames High School, and we played in 1 state championship and 2 final state championships at the Dome at Northern Iowa. Those are great memories. And then growing up in Mississippi, I mean, Friday night football was very special, and we were in the same conference as Oxford, where Ole Miss is located, and Starkville, where Mississippi State is located. So just a lot of great memories in high school football. It's one of the more special times in not only my life, but really our whole family, the whole Burrow family.
Well, Jimmy, you go on after your career to start coaching, and then you retire from coaching so that you can watch Joe play that magical 2019 season. They go undefeated, national championship. Take us through the experience of that year. And I guess we start at the beginning with the famous Jimmy Burrow horns down sign on ESPN, and lead us all the way up to Joe pretty much smoking that cigar in the Dome after he wins the championship.
Well, it really started when I decided to retire so that I could go to all of those games his senior year. My wife had gone to every single game 2018, and I'd only been at 3, none of which were at Tiger Stadium. So, we sat down as a family and just said, hey, I can't go through another year like that, not watching Joe and you guys talking about tailgating and the crowds and just SEC football. So, I decided to retire and went to all 15 games, but thought we might have something special. Joe had talked about it in spring ball, and then that Texas game. We woke up that morning watching the game day there, and they had fired that cannon off into Joe's jersey. So that kind of got us fired up to get to the stadium and see, how the Tigers going to react that day. Certainly a big game. So I think we're just sitting there, and Texas fans for the most part were good, but there's always a few, and then in my memory, thoughts kept going back to that cannon, and they were pretty relentless that day, and I forget what happened, but I just threw the horns down sign out there, and it's never ending. It shows up all over the place, and we were friends with Tom Herman because he had recruited Joe to Ohio State, and that's our relationship had started there. So kind of later on, I felt a little bad about it, but that's how that all started. And the 3rd and 17 became a famous play to Justin Jefferson, and after that game, you go, this to win that game in that environment and against a tough Texas team just jump started that whole season. And then from then it was just game after game where as a coach I'm watching, I'm going, this is really one of the few football teams I've ever seen that actually got better every single game. And growing up in Mississippi and the LSU playing at Ole Miss, which is about 70 miles from my hometown. My brother had played football there, and my sister went to school there. So tailgating at Ole Miss and visiting with Archie Manning, those are highlights. My dad had played basketball at Mississippi State. Being there with just tons of my North Mississippi family members, and that was the only game my mom and dad, who are now 90 years old, that was the only game they were able to go to. That's only about 50 miles from my hometown. I think that's the famous play where Joe had his pants pulled down, so
yeah.
That was quite a day.
The Coppertone play, right?
That's right. But just to be a part of the tailgating that whole year at LSU and watching a team that really had a special bond. I mean, some things that probably never get said enough is how close those players on the LSU team were during the course of that year. And Joe still keeps in touch with a lot of those guys, certainly the ones in the NFL, but there's others that he stays in contact with too. And that's chemistry is such a big part of a team, no matter if it's high school or college or NFL. And that's there was a special bond there between those team members and the coaches too. So just a great year. I mean, I'm so fortunate to be able to have seen every single game with most of my family.
So, Jimmy, that, as you said, a great memorable experience for your whole family, culminates in New Orleans with a great game by Joe. But a lot of our listeners might have forget, and some of them probably the high school kids weren't around to know that you made some memories yourself in New Orleans back in the Sugar Bowl in the 1970s. And what a lot of our listeners might not know is that Nebraska is playing Florida in that game, and you're on the field for Nebraska, trailing, Gators facing 4th and goal, and Jimmy Burrow steps up with a game-saving tackle, denies access to the end zone, kind of shifts the momentum and changes the tide, allowing Nebraska to come back and grab a great victory over Florida. So tell our listeners what that experience was like for you.
Well, we had struggled offensively during the course of the game. We had a great quarterback, David Hum. He played about 10 years or more for the Oakland Raiders after Nebraska, and he had a rough day. We were down 10-0, and they're on our 1 yard line. It's 4th down. We had a great defensive coordinator named Monty Kiffin, who became a legendary coordinator in the NFL, won a Super Bowl at Tampa Bay. And we had a defense because they actually ran a wishbone, which most people wouldn't even believe now that Florida's thrown the ball so much over the years. But they ran the wishbone. I was playing corner. I think they had a receiver named McGriff, and I was supposed to cover him man to man, but I was supposed to peek into the backfield. And if they ran a wishbone option, just basically run a corner blitz, and they did. So just they're not going to throw it when they run the option. So basically, I blitzed, and if I remember, they had a great running back, and I made him put his foot in the ground and make a cut. He might have slipped a little, which is all good too, but. I was credited with a tackle.
Still get the credit, right?
Still get the credit. And my roommate for my first couple of years at Nebraska, and Terry Luck was our backup, who later played in the NFL also. Coach Osborne made a change. David Hum had just thrown his 4th interception, which he was one of the most accurate quarterbacks I'd ever seen, and still I've ever seen. But he had a rough day. Florida had a great defense, and Terry Luck came in. And I think at that point, Coach Osborne just said, hey, we're going to return to Nebraska football, I formation, power football. And we went on a 99-play drive. Monty Anthony was a tailback. Tony Davis, another NFL player for many years, and named the most valuable player of that particular Sugar Bowl. We drove 99 yards, got within 3 points, 10-7, and continued to play well on defense, and ended up kicking 2 more field goals, one late in the game, and so we won 13-10. Famous, and that was the last game ever at Tulane Stadium. So that was also, kind of a special memory. Had a lot of good times during that week on Bourbon Street. Stayed in, if I can remember, the Fontainebleau Hotel. And for me, growing up in the South, I mean, really that was the ultimate bowl game. And I had gone to Ole Miss. I had transferred to Nebraska. We laughed in our family. I was one of the first to enter the transfer portal many years ago. And but I was getting interviewed by a multitude of media from down south after the game in the locker room. It was kind of a madhouse. If I can remember, it was a small locker room. And they had the head coach at Ole Miss was a legendary player and coach called Billy Kennard. And, I had wanted to stay at Ole Miss, but just didn't work out. And so they were asking me a little about that. And at the end, it was so chaotic in there, I didn't remember. But the next day, my dad was picking up all these the newspapers around town, and apparently I had said, "Hey, by the way, wish Billy Kennard a Happy New Year." We got letters and newspaper articles sent from everywhere that I had kind of rubbed it into Ole Miss with that, and that was another great memory certainly for me in that particular game.
Well, Jimmy, look, a lot of locals around here experience the Sugar Bowls yearly, and some of them got to experience that. It's a great just memory, not only for you, but for all the fans who attend these Sugar Bowls and who watch them on TV. And lots of locals now, I think, including my 2 teenage boys, are kind of Bengals fans because of all the LSU's players going to the bingos. And a lot of them want to know with Joe, how's the knee? And is he ready to, team back up with Jamar Chase and put some more points on the board?
His knee's doing great. We had surgery shortly after Joe had surgery shortly after the injury out in California, and started his rehab out there, and basically spent 4 hours a day for 8 months to get ready for training camp. He hasn't missed a rep or a play in practice. The LSU guys on the team, starting with Jamar Chase, is special to Joe and us. We're friends with Jamar's family. We also got Thad Moss, which has had a good camp, and Tyler Shelvin. So, there's guys there that know what winning is all about, and the culture there at LSU really provides a great environment for future NFL players. But Joe's excited. Can't wait for him to throw the first touchdown to Jamar. Jamar's going to have a great career, and we're excited about the season.
Well, let me get you out on this, Jimmy. Look, Joe didn't get offers to Nebraska where you wound up finishing your college career at. He has a setback at Ohio State with an injury, not being named a starter after that. But it all worked out in the wash. He finds his way to LSU, and the LSU grateful around here. Thank you for that. And wins the national championship. He wins the Heisman Trophy. He's the first pick in the NFL draft. So he overcame a lot of adversity throughout his career and getting to where he is. So what advice would you, as a player, as a coach, and as a dad of someone like that, have to our kids listening tonight who are playing on high school football Friday nights with no stars, but they want to keep playing, or the JV kids that are just grinding it out and trying to get their shot to get in that varsity playing squad? What advice do you have those kids for overcoming adversity like that?
Well, first of all, every single player, no matter if they're first team third team, if they're injured or whatever, that you have value on a team. That's why it's called a team. So you can find a way to help that team with your hard work and your encouragement, and then you just continue to have a goal in mind. Whether that's to be a starter or to play college football, and to never give up. I mean, you hear that so much in sports, and I think Joe's certainly an example of that. He was really devastated to have to leave Ohio State, but he kept working, he kept believing in himself, and eventually paid off. And I think anybody, again, high school, college, whatever, if you just continue to believe in yourself and have a goal and work hard to reach that goal, then there's always kind of a chance that you'll do that. If not, if you're, as I said, a backup, or if you do get injured, there's value. Every single guy in that team, every single manager, every single football player and coach, and you just have to make a contribution to that team any way you can. I broke my arm my senior year, and my parents, again, I was devastated. I didn't know if I'd ever play football again. Parent support is so awesome, especially in high school, and they kind of picked me up off the ground and said, hey, you still got a chance, and you can still accomplish your goals. And I think that's something that every young man or lady in high school sports should understand. Work hard, be a good team player, and set goals that you'll have a chance to achieve.
There you go, fans. Words of advice from Jimmy Burrow. Jimmy, thanks so much for joining us on the program tonight. We're excited to have you here, and good luck to you, your family, and Joe this year.
All right. Thanks a lot. Go Tigers and go Bengals.
There he is, Jimmy Burrow. We'll be back with more on the Allstate Sugar Bowl Prep Football Roundup here on WWL.